and not a bit conceited. I am surprised to see what a perfect little Manchu lady you are, knowing even such small etiquette as this, although you have spent many years outside of China." She was very fond of making fun, and liked very much to tease, and said that I could try, and if she saw that I could not do the work, she would scold me, and put someone else in my place. After all this that she had said, I accepted the appointment and went over to her bed to see how it was made, and I found that it was very easy work to do. As this would be one of my duties, I watched while the bed was being fixed. First of all, after Her Majesty had risen, the bedclothes were taken out into the courtyard by the eunuchs and aired, then the bed, which was made of beautifully carved wood, was brushed off with a sort of whisk broom, and a piece of felt placed over it. Then 3 thick mattresses made of yellow brocade was placed over the felt. After this came the sheets, made of different colored soft silk, and over the whole thing was placed a covering of plain yellow satin, embroidered with gold dragons and blue clouds. She had a great many pillows, all beautifully embroidered, which were placed on the bed during the daytime, but had a particular one stuffed with tea leaves, on which she slept. It is said that stuffing the pillow on which you sleep with tea leaves is good for the eyes. In addition to all this, she had another very curiously shaped pillow, about 12 inches long, in the middle of which was a hole about 3 inches square. It was stuffed with dried flowers, and the idea of the hole was that when she laid on it she could place her ear in this hole and in this way hear any and every sound. I suppose in that way no one could come on her unawares. Besides this last yellow embroidered cover, there were 6 covers of different colors, pale mauve, blue, pink, green and violet, and were placed one on top of the other. Over the top of the bed was a frame of wood handsomely carved, and from this frame white crepe curtains, beautifully embroidered, hung, and numerous little gauze silk bags filled with scent were suspended from the carved work of the frame. The odor from these bags was very strong and made one feel sick until they became used to it. Her Majesty was also very fond of musk and used it on all occasions. It took us about 15 minutes to make the bed, and when I had finished, I turned around and saw that Her Majesty was dressing her hair. I stood beside Her Majesty while the eunuch was dressing it, and saw that as old as she was, she still had beautiful long hair which was as soft as velvet and raven black. She parted it in the center and brought it low at the back of her ears, and the back braid was brushed up on the top of her head and made it into a tight knot. When she had finished doing this, she was ready to have the gongzan (Manchu headdress) placed on and pinned through the knot with 2 large pins. Her Majesty always dressed her hair first and then washed her face. She was as fussy and particular as a young girl, and would give it to the eunuch if he did not get it to suit her. She had dozens of bottles of all kinds of perfume, also perfumed soap. When she had finished washing her face, she dried it on a soft towel and sprayed it with a kind of glycerine made of honey and flower petals. After that she put some kind of strong scented pink powder on her face. When she had completed her toilet, she turned to me and said: "It must seem to you quite funny to see an old lady like me taking so much care and pains in dressing and fixing up. Well, I like to dress myself up and to see others dress nicely. It always gives me pleasure to see pretty girls dressed nicely. It makes you want to be young again yourself." I told her that she looked quite young and was still beautiful, and that although we were young we would never dare compare ourselves with her. This pleased her very much, as she was very fond of compliments, and I took great pains that morning to study her and to find out what she liked and what she didn't. After this, Her Majesty took me into another room and showed me where her jewels were kept. This room was covered with shelves on 3 sides of the room from top to bottom, on which were placed piles of ebony boxes all containing jewels. Small yellow strips were pasted on some of the boxes, on which was written the contents. Her Majesty pointed to a row of boxes on the right side of the room, and said: "Here is where I keep my favorite everyday jewels, and some day you must go over them to see that they are all there. The rest are all jewels which I wear on special occasions. There are about 3,000 boxes in this room, and I have a lot more locked up in my safety room, which I will show you when I am not busy." Then she said: "I am sorry you cannot read and write Chinese. Otherwise I would give you a list of these things, and you could keep a check on them." I was very much surprised at this, and wondered who had told her I couldn't. I was anxious to know, but did not dare to ask her. So I told her that, although I was not a scholar, I had studied Chinese for some time and could read and write a little, that if she would give me a list I would try and read it. She said: "That is funny. Someone told me, the first day you were here, I forget now who it was, that you could not read or write your own language at all." While she was saying this, she was looking all around the room, and I was sure she knew who it was that had told her, but she would not tell me. Then she said: "When we have time this afternoon, I will go over this list with you. Bring me those 5 boxes on the first row of shelves." I brought the boxes to her room and placed them on the table. She opened the first one, and it contained a most beautiful peony, made of coral and jade, and each petal trembled like a real flower. This flower was made by stringing the petals, which were made of coral, on very fine brass wire; also the leaves, which were made of pure jade. She took this flower and placed it on the right side of her headdress. Then she opened another box and took from it a magnificent jade butterfly made in the same way. This was an invention of her own, and it was done by carving the coral and jade into petals and leaves and boring holes in the lower ends, through which brass wire was run. The other 2 boxes contained bracelets and rings of different patterns. There was a pair of gold bracelets set with pearls, another pair set with jade, with a piece of jade hanging from the end of a small gold chain, etc. The last 2 contained chains of pearls, the like of which I never saw before, and I fell in love with them at once. Her Majesty took one which was made into a plum blossom string, by winding a circle of 5 pearls around a larger one, then one single pearl, then another circle of 5 pearls around a large one, and so on, making quite a long chain, which she suspended from one of the buttons of her gown. At this juncture one of the Court ladies came in, carrying several gowns for Her Majesty to select from. She looked at them and said that none of them suited her, to take them back and bring more. I had a look at them and thought they were perfectly lovely, such pretty colors and so beautifully embroidered. In a short while the same Court lady came back, carrying more, and from these Her Majesty selected a sea green one, embroidered all over with white storks. She put this gown on, and looked at herself in the mirror for a while, then took off her jade butterfly. She said: "You see, I am very particular about little details. The jade butterfly is too green, and it kills my gown. Put it back in the box, and bring me a pearl stork in number 35 box." I went back to the jewel room, and fortunately found number 35 box, and brought it to her. She opened the box and took from it a stork made entirely of pearls set in silver, the bird's bill being made of coral. The pearls making the body of the bird were so cleverly set that the silver could not be seen at all unless one looked at it very closely. It was a most magnificent piece of workmanship, and the pearls were of perfect color and shape. Her Majesty took it and placed it in her hair, and did look very graceful and pretty. Then she picked out a mauve-colored short jacket, also embroidered with storks, which she put on over her gown. Her handkerchief and shoes were also embroidered with storks, and when she was entirely dressed, she looked like the stork lady. Just as she had finished dressing, the Emperor Kwang Hsu came into the bedroom dressed in his official clothes. These clothes were exactly like other official clothes, except that he had no button on his hat, and did not wear the peacock feather.